Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Scuttlebutt. I'm your host, Sean Hall, Director of Programming with the Veterans Breakfast Club. We're a nonprofit in Western PA whose mission is to create communities of listening around veterans and their stories to connect, educate, heal, and inspire. If you've been watching the Scuttlebutt for some time, you may remember the episodes that dealt with the Army Emergency Relief Fund and the other one that dealt with TAP, the Transition Assistance Program. Well, today we're going to have on Staff Sergeant Ryan Skinner, who's currently nearing the end of his transition from the military, the Army, out into the civilian world. He is taking advantage of the Career Skills Program. This was a program that started in 2015 and allows retiring and separating soldiers to participate in skills training during their transitional period to improve their civilian employment options. The program's focus is on pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeships, on-the-job training, internships, job shadowing, and other types of employment skills training during the soldier's last 180 days of service. Ryan is joining us from Italy, where he is currently deployed, and we get a bit into his service and what led him to say, well, I'm going to separate and transition back to the civilian world. And then we get into a bit of his TAP experience, his Transition Assistance Program experience, and how that led into the Career Skills Program. He is an intern with them right now. I think you'll find this very interesting if you are a current service member and you're looking at transitioning out. He has a lot of really great advice on how to do this, who to talk to, what you need to look out for, how you need to prep yourself. A really good conversation. We had a great time. So make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube so you're the first to know whenever we release new episodes of the Scuttlebutt. And you can always email me at Sean, SHAUN, at veteransbreakfastclub.org. I will put into the description the link to the previous two Scuttlebutts where we talked about the Army Emergency Relief and as well as the TAP program. I think those are very informative episodes as well. This one sort of is an extension of that, but if you've already gone through those and you want to find out more about CSP, it's a great place to be. So enjoy the show. Thank you so much, Ryan, for joining on the Scuttlebutt today. We're really excited to get into the Army Emergency Relief's, what is this called? The Career Skills Support Program, but also Career Skills Program. We'll get into sort of what that is here in just a little bit, but I want to welcome you to the podcast. Thank you so much. And you're coming to us from Italy, and you are in the Army currently.
Yes, currently I'm in the Army for the 173rd Airborne Brigade out in Italy, stationed in Vicenza. And that's where I'm at now, recording for you.
I'm so jealous. Well, we always like to ask our veterans and active service members, whenever we get a chance to talk with them, somebody new to the VBC, is why did you choose the Army?
Yeah, so this story's been a long time work, a lot of work. Mm-hmm. But my entire way that I joined is super just incredible story. First I graduated college, which not many, so I'm an enlisted soldier. So there's two choices that you come in with when you go into the Army. Okay. You're either going into the commissioned officer realm, or you're going into the enlisted soldier realm. Now, with a college degree, for the majority of people who get a college degree, they're in certain programs like ROTC or OCS, and those programs get them into the officer realm of the Army. Yeah. I decided to go into the enlisted. Now, my decision based on that was kind of where I was in my life and kind of personality wise. I just felt like I would really succeed in the enlisted side of the Army. And I wasn't wrong. So luckily that decision, that was a really good decision for me. And so I graduated college in 2014 from Westchester University of Pennsylvania. Worked for about a year and a half. I did two different jobs. I was working in a lot of the fitness industry. I've grown up playing sports and, super intrigued and interested in everything that has to deal with athletics. Mm-hmm. And I always kind of had in the back of my mind that I would join the military.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you come from a military family?
Yeah, a lot of my family was military. Both my grandfathers were Marines. A couple of my uncles were Army officers as well, so including my father. So yeah, I had a background, family, and it kind of was always in the back of my head that I was going to join. And that's that's how I kind of landed on it. And it was funny because I had an appointment with my dad one day. My mom's like, we got to figure out, for your career, like what your next step is. And I'm like, totally agree. I need all the help I can get. And so, at dinner, I'm sitting there with my family and they're like, tomorrow night we'll go over some plans and, we'll try and help you figure this out. And I was super grateful for that. And so I go to work the next day, and I worked in the vitamin shop. So I got to help people, kind of figure out plans for supplements. And anyway, I had an Army recruiter walk in the door,
Oh,
and I got to show him around and talk to him about a lot of things. And before he left, I was like, you know what, I kind of been meaning to talk to one of you guys. Can I have maybe set up an appointment with you? He's like, oh, here's my card. Easiest recruiting I've ever done. Here you go.
right.
He's like, when are you available? And I was like, how about tomorrow at 9 a.m.? And the next day at 9 a.m., I sat down with him. And then a month later, I was gone to basic training.
Okay, so where you had dinner though with the family to talk about career path, is that where you said, I kind of joined the army?
Yeah, so that's the best part of the story. So I did that all. I went throughout the rest of my day with work. I go home, I eat dinner with my family, and my dad sits down, opens his notebook, clicks his pen open. He's like, "All right, we gotta think of some stuff and try and come up with the industries and ideas of where you want to go." He's like, "Do you have anything in mind?" And I was like, "Well, I have an appointment with the Army recruiter tomorrow morning." My dad goes, "Click." Close the book. He's like, awesome, we're done here, man. That's perfect for you. He always knew the military was perfect for me. So as soon as I kind of came up with that idea, he was like, he was excited and ready to go. So
Wow.
that's kind of that story of how I ended up deciding to join the military. And I love that story. It's great.
Seriously, what did your mom think?
Oh, my mom was a little bit different, both excited as well as nervous at the same
Yeah.
time, because she knows that I'm very serious about whatever it is that I go into doing.
Yep.
And I told them, I expressed pretty strongly that I was going to go infantry. There was no other way I was going to go. I wanted to be the guys on the ground making the decisions and doing things to protect innocents and
Yeah.
kind of protect our country, etc.
Right.
So yeah, she was nervous as well as excited at the same time.
Oh man. Did your dad have any advice for you? I mean, there's a lot of family history there, so I'm sure that they had some thoughts.
Yeah, the biggest advice that my dad really gave me, which at the time I obviously couldn't really understand it. Now I definitely do. Was the only worry he had for me going into the military was just he really hoped that I would land in with some good leadership.
Yeah.
Because the Army is a big organization.
The
There's a
biggest
lot
of
of
the military
people.
branches, yeah.
There's a lot of people, and your leadership is a person. They're a human being. They make mistakes. They have a personality, and so you really kind of hit the luck of the draw when it goes getting into the military, and you really have good leadership and good people to your left and right. So far, I've done 7 years, and I've been very lucky and very fortunate to have a lot of really great people that I've been around, and so I'm super grateful for that.
So if I understand correctly, then you've already re-upped once.
I have, yes. I did
Okay.
one contract with the 3rd Infantry Division at Fort Stewart
Hmm.
in Georgia. I did 4 years there. And then I reenlisted for a contract with the Airborne and to specifically come here to Italy. That was my biggest thing. I worked with the higher headquarters during my reenlistment and my contract. And I was like, I want Italy. That's what I want. That's where I want to go. And luckily I got it. It was very, very tough. It was not
Hmm.
easy to do. Yeah.
And in those first 4 years, were you deployed? Obviously, 2014, if you were in at that time, things were still happening in both Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, so I came in November of 2015.
Okay.
And at the end of basic training is kind of where you figure out, they tell you where you're going. I ended up going to Fort Stewart, and within 3 weeks, I was gone for 7 months. But it wasn't a combat deployment, kind of how our lingo works when it comes to deployment. Deployment for us really kind of refers to combat deployments. But I was deployed per se on a rotation, training rotation.
Hmm.
We went for 2 months in Germany, 2 months in Poland, and 2 months in Hungary.
Okay.
And
And then take us up through. And then did you get deployed eventually?
no, not on a combat deployment. No, I did the first training rotation deployment I did with the 3rd ID.
Hmm.
was to Germany, Poland, and Hungary for those 6 months.
Hmm.
And then the following year, I went to Korea for 9 months.
Okay.
Um, and then after that is when I joined and came here to Italy. And since I've been in Italy, I've been all over the place, bunch of different countries out here in Europe and Africa. So I've been all over the place.
It's taken me a while through VBC to learn, and there's a reason why I ask about the deployments, because this incredible sort of shadow box that you have behind you, I did notice the blue rifle, which is the blue rifle mean combat?
Yeah, so this right here that you, as you can see, is called the Expert Infantry Badge.
Okay.
So a very similar pin, okay, but it has the wreath is a
Ah,
CIB, which is
gotcha.
Combat Infantry Badge,
Gotcha.
which you receive under certain circumstances within combat. So
Okay.
was able to earn my Expert Infantry Badge, which is a basic kind of military school where you go and you perform specific tasks with specific rules in a specific time standard.
Hmm.
And you do all sorts of tasks, 30 different tasks, three different phases with 10 different lanes in each. And
Hmm.
you have to perform them all with perfection in order to pass.
Thank you for that distinction, because I did not know there were two separate that look similar enough, but the
Yeah,
wreath is what I was missing there.
yeah, they're exactly the same. There's a little bit of a difference. You'll see the wreath attached to it in the center, and that is a CIB, which is the Combat Infantry Badge.
Gotcha. Well, it's a beautiful shadow box, and for those of you listening on a podcast audio, if you jump over to the YouTube, you get to see this beautiful shadow box that Ryan has sitting behind him. You also prominently placed a hat that has a very interesting logo on it, but I'm not quite sure what that is.
Yeah, so that is the current company that I'm with, Able Company of the 2nd 503rd Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 173rd Infantry Brigade Combat Team.
Hmm.
This is my company, my specific company logo, and the hat that we wear around our company area where we operate.
And another question we like to ask at BBC is, why jump out of a very good plane?
It's fun.
Take me through your first jump.
Oh man, my first jump. So when I went to airborne school, okay, so I went from third ID. I went from there straight to airborne school, and then I returned back to third ID in order to then go to my station here in Italy. And airborne school was awesome. So I've never done any type of skydiving, or I'm not sure at this time. I had skydived once with a tandem.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already kind of gotten the,
The
what it
thrill
feels,
out, like, yeah.
but there is nothing else like jumping out of an airplane with some gear attached to you at 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, that is a whole nother game. All right.
Okay.
In airborne school, actually, my first jump, I was the first guy in the door. So I have all these people behind me. We're getting up to our drop zone, and they tell you to stand by, and you turn, and I'm facing outside of the door about to do my first jump, looking at the ground and the trees, and then just waiting for that airborne pat, which is where they give you the tap on where you're good to go. You get the green light.
Okay, is it a tap or is it a go?
It's a nice, because you got to feel it, because you got all this gear, so they kind
Yeah.
of go for the area on your lower back area where you have no gear, so they go
Yeah.
for that in order to get you out the door. And so I did my first jump right outside of the door, and it was I'll never forget it. Never forget it.
Do you, I mean, they of course they show it in the movies as like you jump out and you're flipping and all this stuff, but is it really kind of just a flat, you just kind of get out in the open air and you have this, like, this nice free fall?
It is so fast that you don't even have time to think. I mean,
Yeah.
you're out the door, you're counting the six Mississippis essentially,
Hmm.
until your parachute is open. At 6 Mississippi, if you're still falling, you're gonna have to look left and right and see if you're still falling faster than your fellow jumpers.
Hmm.
All right. And then in that case, you're gonna go ahead and utilize the reserve that you have on your chest.
Yeah.
So it's very fast. You're out the door within 6 Mississippis, your parachute's, up, you're checking all of your things, making sure you're good to go. You're not falling faster than anybody. You're nice and safe. And then you're just kind of standing by until you reach the ground.
And this isn't that, so that doesn't sound like a joyride. That sounds like it's very strategic. It's very like procedural. Like you're not up there to enjoy, hey, that's a nice building over there. Like You got to make sure
Yeah,
where your landing zone is, what's going on upside, where's everybody at, all that stuff.
yeah, your free fall isn't really a free fall. You're out the door, and because it's static line, it's gonna, which I have right here actually, the
Yeah.
static line, that's gonna go ahead and pull out your main parachute for you.
Hmm.
And if all else fails, like I said before, then you'll pull your reserve. So it's very fast. It's very different. I also skydive for fun too. So jumping out of 14,000, 13,000 feet. Now
Right.
that's where you get, that fun part where you can actually look around and you have time to kind of, think about things.
Yeah, take it all in. So you've already re-upped once. Is the Army something you want to make a career of? You want to do the 20 years?
Yeah, so I re-upped once, and now that I'm getting towards the end of my second contract, I was put on orders in order to re-enlist. And as I'm looking at my 10-year plan, I'm really gauging a lot of things financially.
Hmm.
What it is that I really want to do, deep down in my heart. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, I came to the conclusion that it's time for me to exit the military.
Okay, and that brings us up to the Army Emergency Relief and Career Skills Support Program. Um, why did you make that decision? I know that's maybe a personal question, so you don't have to answer it. But in that decision, we know that it's pretty difficult in a lot of ways for a military personnel to transition out of the military and get into the civilian life. So there are support networks there. You obviously finding one with Career Skills Support Program. Lead us through that decision.
Yeah, so there's so much that goes into it. It really is hard to explain, for someone active duty, making that decision, making that
Mhm.
switch, that big career change. Essentially, what you're doing is you're changing your entire life, not only your career, okay, but your life. Everything changes.
Mhm.
You're not just going from one job and applying and then setting it up right to go to the next. Like it's very difficult. The decision, really, at the end of the day, it came down to finances.
Mhm.
And for me, a big one was just my 5 to 10 year plan for family.
Yeah.
Um, the military has so many things that really support and have great benefits. I mean, unmatched, really is. But at the end of the day, I just really want to make sure that I can be there for the family. My fiance is Italian.
Hmm.
We have big plans for the future. And I just want to make sure that I can be there for her and for our kids that we want to have
Hmm.
soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so the real base decision on that was being able to be home because, when you commit to your country, you commit 100%. And family always comes first to a point, but you have another family that you're in charge of. And for me, I've been in charge for the past 3 years. I've been in charge of over 25 soldiers in my platoon
Yeah.
as a platoon sergeant and a mortar section sergeant. So, what at the end of the day, what it came down to was just I think it's time to pass the torch. And
Hmm.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the next step and to kind of transition back. As 32 years old, and after 7 years, I'm ready for the next phase in my life.
Yeah, that's a very big decision, very mature decision. Did your dad was he in the military when you were born, or was he already out at that time?
Yep, he was in the military just up until I was born.
Hmm.
Right around Desert Storm was
Yeah.
where I was born in 91 in January.
Hmm.
So that whole time prior to that was Desert Storm. My dad actually was really looking into staying in, but same kind of deal. Actually, I haven't even thought about this until really right now. It's kind of the same deal. My mom was pregnant with me, and my dad had a decision to make. And at the end of the day, the decision came down to make sure that we could support our family. I mean, that's the same thing he did that I'm kind of doing now. I actually just thought about that. That's kind of crazy.
Well, now you have to give him a call. I'm glad I was able to help you out.
Yeah,
I charge $25 an hour. Uh,
nice, fair price.
yeah, right. Okay, so you've made this decision. How did you find out about AER, and what made you look into that? Is there something the Army has in place that says, "Hey, you guys are transitioning out. These are the steps you need to make"?
Yeah. So essentially what we have is called the Transition Assistance Program,
Hmm.
referred to as TAP.
Yep.
Now, there's portions of it that you have to complete in a certain amount of time so that you can get all of this information that you need in order to make an informed decision.
Hmm.
So the timeline specifically, right? You have your end of contract date. 18 months from that end of contract date is when you're first eligible in order to uh, register and start your transition assistance program.
Hmm.
Now, within the entirety of the program, they set you up for classes. Some of the classes they go over is initial counseling, kind of a pre-separation brief, and then depending on that with your counselor, you get issued a certain tier, which is like what your interests are, whether you want to go to school or whether you want to open a business. So then your transition classes that you're going to take, those workshops are going to be geared towards that specific thing that you want to do.
Gotcha.
And then you complete that. Hopefully, you're completing that around 12 months to 9 months out from your end of contract date. It's mandated by Congress, okay, for soldiers to complete, I believe, their first initial counseling and their pre-separation brief before that 12-month mark.
And it's a
So
lot. I say that because we did have a representative from the TAPS program on a previous episode of the Scuttlebutt. So I'll put a link to that episode here in the description for anybody who's like, wait, what's TAPS? And they can sort of backtrack a bit and catch up. But you were already a college graduate, so your program was a lot different than someone who's coming out saying, I want to use my GI Bill.
yeah, it's
Yep.
very individualized, very individualized.
Okay.
And a lot of soldiers, what they don't realize, if we have listeners that are either senior, senior people, or they know people in the military, or they're junior enlisted, a big portion of this is, oh, I don't know what I want to do.
Ah.
That's the point. That's the point of TAP. That is
Yeah.
why you go there to receive the information. Even if you're 100%, I'm re-enlisting, I want to stay in 20 years.
Mhm.
You never know what's going to happen. We're in the airborne. There's a lot of things that we do that is dangerous and you get injured. So we have people that have planned to re-enlist, and they don't come into TAP on that 18-month mark to start getting the information. That doesn't mean that they're set in stone getting out, but it gets them that information they need. Maybe something happens, you have a bad jump, and now you're getting med boarded out of the Army, which is essentially the Army early retiring you because of injuries.
Yeah.
So, it's extremely important to make sure that your soldiers and yourselves are here on that timeline talking to the transition assistance counselors and making sure that you're getting the information that you need.
So how far are you into TAPS, and you've not completed it yet?
So I have completed all of my
Okay.
essential stuff that I needed in order to build my plan. I'm at the end phase now. I'm less than 30 days from my flight back to the United States.
Hey.
So I'm turning in all my gear. I scheduled all my household goods to get picked up and start to get shipped back to the States. So I am really at the end game at this stage, at this point in time.
What did you think of the TAPS program? How much did it help you?
I mean, it's great. It's a lot of information at once. I'll be real, with the listeners here. It's a lot of information at once. And so, what I tell people, I do the newcomers brief here on the installation every Thursday because I'm in my internship, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon. But the biggest point that I try to make to everybody is, if you're not here on time, you're not going to be able to get that information that you need in order to be on time. So you need to make sure that you get there early. So it was extremely helpful. But the biggest factor of the information that you receive is what you're doing with it when you go home.
Okay.
I see a lot of these younger soldiers, these younger individuals, that kind of high risk for unemployment post military service is the 18 years to 24-year-olds, the first term soldiers, okay, their first term contract. Those are high risk because they don't have much experience outside of the military. And if they were late during TAP, they really lost a lot of the opportunities that they could get, but they don't capitalize on the information that they're getting. And a lot of that information, the big breaks that you're going to make in figuring out what you want to do is going to come after that, and the efforts that you put on your own individual time in order to figure that out. So, I would really say to a lot of the listeners, if they have family members in the service and they're thinking about getting out, like, just make sure that they understand, they got to put in the work really to figure it all out. It's not going to be, it's not going to be given to them, which a lot of the Army, a lot of the military, is everything. They tell you where to be, what to wear, and what to do.
Yeah.
So it's all there for you to make, as long as you can do that, you're successful. But outside of the military, it's very different. It's really you're on your own to really figure it all out and make sure that you build a network of people that are able to support you. And that's another big thing, is make sure you surround yourself with good people.
And you went into TAPS with an idea of what you already wanted out, or were you kind of like, I don't kind of know, and this will help me decide on what my goal is going to be?
I had no idea.
Okay.
Not a clue what I wanted to do. I knew that during my military service, one of the most fun and the most passion that I had was helping soldiers, kind of life coaching. So I knew that if that were something I were to look into, if there were jobs in an industry somewhere around there, that I would really be good at that.
Yeah.
So my initial plan, especially going into the CSP and trying to figure out what I was doing for the Career Skills Program internship, I geared that focus towards civilian government positions.
Okay.
Somewhere in the realm of hopefully where I could help families and help soldiers and support them and help them figure out all these benefits and these opportunities that are out there for them that they don't even know about.
So let's get into that then. The CSP, the Career Skills Program, you're interning with them. How did that develop, and why did you decide to join into that internship?
Yeah, so from my understanding, from Ryan's understanding, the Career Skills Program, I'm not sure how long it's been in place, but it's very relatively new. And so
it's only a year. I think I'm looking on my computer. It's it looks like December 1st, 2021.
Yeah, it's
really new.
Yeah. So yeah, right. Exactly. So it's very, very new. So there's a lot of changes, even from last year, probably, and so essentially, what I was looking to do was find a civilian government position that I could shadow and that I can learn all these new skills, abilities, and all this knowledge that I need in order to be successful in that position. So that was my first focus as far as where I wanted to do the internship. And I did get that, and I got my packet together and I followed all the procedures and got it all approved through all the proper places. And then that's where I stepped into my internship at a specific time about 4 months ago.
Okay. Well, what have you done with the internship, or what do they have you do? What are your responsibilities?
Yeah, so essentially my spot is kind of an administrative, and I'm a little bit of a life coach, just like I said. Now, there's no specific job position in the building in which I'm working at, but our main focus for the internship was really to give me all the skills, knowledge, and abilities that I needed in order to bulk up my resume, that federal resume that I had. So when I started to apply for other government positions, I'd have a really, really good start here for 4 to 6 months of experience that I didn't have prior, which does a lot to the resume to have that going into a new industry.
Is the CSP a part of TAPS? Was it is that what you graduate from TAPS and kind of can use the CSP? I'm a little confused on sort of the relationship between the two, or if there is any.
Yeah, so it's TAP, just Transition Assistance Program, not TAPS. Just so
thank you. There's a very big difference. You're right. TAPS is very different.
Yeah, just TAP, just Transition Assistance Program is what it is now. It used to be called Soldier for Life, SFL TAP. Now they got rid of the Soldier for Life. It's just Transition Assistance Program, aka TAP. Now, the relationship that they have essentially is the CSP, the Career Skills Program, is a program that is approved to be used by the Army in a specific parameter, but our job, the job of the Transition Service Manager and the building of the Transition Assistance Program is to help people find meaningful employment.
Okay.
So this program is just hand in hand with exactly what the job of TAP is to do, which is help you find meaningful employment.
Now, you had mentioned sort of government personnel, and is that to me speaks like working at Congress or something, but this is more military government personnel that you're referring to, correct?
It's just civilian government positions. Yeah. So
Okay.
for people that don't know, there are specific parameters that you need to fall under in order to apply for specific jobs, right?
Yeah.
Just talking in general. And don't quote me on it, but my understanding of it, there's if you go to usajobs.com and you create an account, and whether you're a civilian or a veteran or an active duty or you're a spouse, there's jobs for everybody there that are within somewhat of the civilian government spectrum.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot in there. There's a lot to dive in as far as what they are, but there are jobs out there for everybody. And like I said, for spouses, veterans, active military, trying to look into going into civilian government like I am now. So USA Jobs is, I think, just really one avenue of approach, but it's the most popular from my understanding, and that's what I've used for the past 4 months in order to start applying for other civilian government positions.
Now, it also, I'm going to read from the Career Skills Support Program website here. One of the updates they had in September of this year was that Army Emergency Relief increased assistance from $1,500 to $2,000 for soldiers traveling from outside continental United States to participate in a CONUS CSP. Is there money then? There's a grant that you can gain through the CSP?
Yeah, so coincided with the Career Skills Program, the Army Emergency Relief. Okay, the Army Emergency Relief, first off, I want to make sure that I make this statement very clear, is awesome. And it's for everything. Any kind of questions or trouble that you might have as a family member, a spouse, or active duty, the Army Emergency Relief is literally there to help you financially. They have many avenues of approach to support soldiers and their families during tough times. So if you fall under that, or somebody that falls under that, tell them please to go to their Army Community Service Center, wherever their Army Emergency Relief is on post, and go talk to them. Now, the AER, okay, the Army Emergency Relief, they have an approved program essentially for a grant for all those doing the Career Skills Program. Now, that change that you're talking about, they just essentially raised the grant for people coming from overseas because of the cost of all the flights and all of these things, these costly things that are really on the soldier at that point to make during their internship. Now, from what I understanding as of today, December 8th, 2022. Okay. It is $2,000 for overseas going back to the United States. Okay, so what they call is like a non-local, okay, from OCONUS, okay, so from overseas to back to the States is $2,000. Now the non-local, I can't remember. You might have it in front of you though. The non-local, okay, just within the States. So if you're in California stationed and you're going to New Jersey to do your internship, I think it's $1,000.
It looks like assistance may be provided as a grant up to $500 for participation in local continental United States CSP, but a grant up to $1,000 for participation in a non-local CONUS CSP. So it looks like $500.
Yes.
And then even higher up, like you said, grant up to $2,000 for soldiers traveling from outside continental United States to participate in a CONUS CSP. And let me make a quick edit here for our listeners, is that the CSP was created in 2015, not last year. There was an update to it last year that I saw. So 2015 was when this started.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that sounds that's okay. That's right. I think I've read that as well. So you have 3 different numbers to think about in the Army Emergency Relief Career Skills Support Program, the CSSP, which is the Army Emergency Relief's way of giving you a grant. You have that $2,000 for going from overseas back to the States, CSPs. You have $1,000 for non-local within the States. Okay. Let's say going from California to New Jersey to do your internship. And then you have $500 for your local, which is like me, what I fell under. So I did a local here. Okay. And then I got $500 and I went straight out and I got a whole new wardrobe that I don't have because I've been in the Army for 7 years.
Right.
So I went and got myself some suits and you know, the value that it brings, you know, it really makes you feel valued for, you know, the sacrifices and all these things that you've done over the years in the military. It really helps you feel valued, that they will support you in going and getting a new wardrobe to feel professional and look professional in the new industry that I want to go into. So it made all the difference, really, stepping into the internship.
How much different do you feel as like pre-TAP Ryan as opposed to where you're at now in confidence level of your transition?
Insurmountable. There is such a difference from just 5 months ago. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And, you know, for me individually, I knew that that was just another hurdle in life that I just needed to get over, you know. A lot of the things that we deal with in the military, like, you know, you're with your ruck, your pack, and you're going 12 miles and there's a hill in front of you and you don't know how you're going to get over it, but you always do. So for me, this was just another way of me looking up that hill and saying that I'm gonna accomplish this. It might look like it's a lot of uphill right now, but at some point I'll get over the hill and start going downhill, which is easier. So yeah, it's insurmountable difference where I am now from what I was just 5 months ago. But going through TAP the proper way, getting the information that I needed, making sure that I utilized all that information and took the time to really research what it is that I wanted to do to get myself to an answer is what helped me get to where I am now.
Guys that are sort of behind you in that decision-making process, what best advice do you give to them, or what question do you get the most after having gone through as much as you have so far?
Just to keep on it. Just stay on it. Don't give up. You know, in life in general, not even just talking about this transition, there's going to be things that you need to work really hard at in order to figure it out. Life is not gentle. That's not how it works. So when you find yourself in a difficult position, all you got to do is find the things that help support you in general health and mental capacity. Like for me, specifically, when I start going through stress of not having answers for things and not knowing what I want to do, you know, family, fitness, okay, and just general keeping up and organized with normal things in my house, just starting with making the bed in the day.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm able to keep those little things in line and help that support me through these tough times, is what is going to get you to that place that you want to be. You just got to keep at it.
What kind of terrified you the most? Maybe terrified is too strong of a word, but of the transition when you got into it, was it the uncertainty? Was it the leaving the military? That like sort of it is a home, it's a brotherhood, it's a family, certainly. And we've heard that a lot from our veterans through VBC, is that you get out and the thing you miss the most is being around all the guys that you've been with. Was there something that stuck out to you of just like, oh, I'm really not looking forward to that?
Yeah, terrified is definitely a good word. Yeah, it's terrifying. It is. You know, and anyone saying that it's not is just either really good at knowing what they want to do, or they're lying.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's a scary process. And you know, the thing that helped me most was really that support system that I had when it came to you know, the men and women to my left and right down at the company, the family and the friends, and making sure that I surrounded myself with good people.
Right.
Um,
And I'm sure your fiance probably supported you in this as well. Like, you have that home support.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't have that.
Hmm.
I'm extremely fortunate that I have a good support system when it comes to family. So I don't want to generalize and just say that everybody has that, and some people might not.
Hmm.
And what I would say to them is just make sure the people that you do surround yourself with and the things you spend yourself, the time that you spend doing certain things is what's going to influence everything in your life.
Hmm.
Making those little decisions on a day-to-day basis of doing things that are good for your mental health, good for your physical health, and those tiny little things, making your bed, keeping it organized, making sure your finances are all squared away. It's about growing up. I mean, we're all adults here at this time. You join at 18, around 18 years old, and there's a lot to learn. I joined when I was older, so I was fortunate to kind of have my university days of making all those mistakes and learning from them, and then applying those since I've been in the military, as well as advancing the
Hmm.
knowledge and understanding of all of them since I've been in too.
You've pretty much, you've sort of developed that 5, 10 year plan. You talked about a bit about that earlier. But lead me through that. What does your next 5 years look like, and how has the CSP and TAP set you up for success?
Yeah. So, going from the day that I started TAP and to now, um, there's a lot difference of people who have done the same process as me, and they're not where I am.
Hmm.
And it goes with those little things that I'm specific about. You get a lot of information at once when it comes to TAP, and
Yeah.
you can take TAP as many times as you need. You
Oh, I
don't
didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah, you don't have to go through those classes only once.
that's
So
good.
for those of you out there, that have done it maybe, 6 months ago, and you're getting closer to your termination date and you don't remember all of that stuff, go talk to your counselor, sign up again. You can get in there again.
Hmm.
Just be transparent with your leadership on what your plan is and why you need to go to the transition assistance program again.
Cool.
That way you can gain the support of your command team as well.
Right.
Um, so
And your
yeah,
and your 5 year plan.
my 5 year plan at this point in time. So I didn't get a civilian government position. I got a couple really great offers. They just weren't they weren't where I really needed them to be financially, especially with the cost of living in some of those areas, which we know nowadays is pretty bad.
Yeah, come to
Uh,
Pittsburgh. It's not so bad here.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I got a job offer in a GS7, which is the GS is the basically the scale or the rank system of the
Hmm.
civilian government. One sector was a GS7, and I was looking about making about 51 grand a year.
Hmm.
Um, and looking at that with the taxes I'd be paying in that area, what I'd be paying for retirement, specific big number things,
Yeah.
I'd only come home with a net income of 35 grand a year.
Right.
And that area, the cost of living in a 1 bedroom apartment is about 30 grand a year. So that
Mhm.
only leaves me with $5,000 of spending money. And that's a big, big, big factor for a lot of kids that don't take in all these factors
Yeah.
when they're going out of the military. And that's why in the beginning of the podcast, when I talked about all the amazing benefits that the military has, pay, benefits, food, they pay for your food. And then if you're getting housing, they're paying for your housing, or you're living on post. There's a lot of things that you don't realize that is a very big benefit of staying in the military. I'm not just here to promote getting out of the military. Being in the military is a great thing. There's a lot of good benefits.
And I'm not going to throw a wrench in your plans, Ryan, but once you guys start having kids, it's diapers, it's
Yeah.
formula, it's food that you put in front of them, and they're like, "I'm not eating that." And you're like, "Well, that's what we're having."
Yeah. Yeah. One of those big things is like I love to do is spreadsheets and making sure I'm keeping track of where I'm going. And that's going to be another big thing I'm going to have to do when those kids come along. We got some years that we want to spend still together to enjoy ourselves a little bit, but you never
Yeah,
know.
or totally.
But yeah, I think I went off a little track there, but my 5 year plan, I'll be training in my new job that I got. It's with the family business.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather started this business in 1968. Now my father and my aunts and uncles run it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't really know that there was a job offer on the table, but my aunts, uncles, and my dad, they really allowed me to exhaust all my resources for what it is that I really was passionate about and what I wanted to do before they spoke to me about this offer.
Right.
And with the timeline of where I was at, and again, I am so fortunate to have this support system that was able to offer me a job that puts me in a really good place.
Right.
But that doesn't go without saying that my CSP and everything that I've learned and the 6 months that I was able to put on my resume and the federal resumes that I made, and that I'm able to make now because of the knowledge and the skills and the abilities that I've learned while working here,
Yeah.
it's insurmountable. I mean,
Right.
if this doesn't work out for my next job and I'm continuing to look for civilian jobs, like the skills and the things that I was able to put there, that go to my resume and go to my future are unbelievable. So it's put me in a really good place. And even though I didn't get into what my specific plan was in the beginning, and this is very important,
Mm-hmm.
even though I didn't get there to where I really wanted to be, there's so much that I learned, um, in general concepts at that internship,
Mm-hmm.
that helped me set me up for the future. So
Right.
for the first year, I'll be training down in Savannah, Georgia, and
Mm-hmm.
then hopefully in about a year or two, once the training is complete, I'm going to open a whole new office for the company in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Nice. That's awesome. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I mean, my last question is advice for people. Is this easy to sign up for? I understand TAP is AER easy to sign up for? Is it just about talking, with your leadership and like you said, being open about what your plan is?
Yeah, I would say the programs are always there for you at any time for you
Okay.
to walk in and ask your questions about the program. Find out where your local programs are, what building, on post. Utilize them. Ask the questions. That is what they're there for. That is what they love doing. Everybody working in those buildings. The Army Community Service Center usually is a big support system for all of those programs. They can help you get in touch with who you need.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but use those programs how you need. Now, is it
Yeah,
easy?
easy. Yeah, yeah.
Yes and no. This program, for the career skills program specifically, talking is it's constantly changing and updating, as of right now. So you have to get that important information. And it takes time, it takes effort. So I would like to say that it's easy, but it is in a sense, as long as you take it seriously and do everything that you need to do, on your own individual time to make sure you set yourself up for success. But yes, TAP and AER, all of these programs that are there for you on base, on your home installation, they are there for you, to use. So if you need the help and you need to find out where it's at, you're a new soldier, especially, talk to your first line, your second line supervisor. Ask them where they are, where they're located. For the majority of it, when you in process to a new unit, they're going to give you all of this information on where things are. So just make sure
Mm-hmm.
you pay attention, take those notes, and go talk to the people that are running the program. They are the ones that are going to give you the best and timely information that you need.
Fantastic. This has been a wealth of information, Ryan. I really appreciate you taking the time to dish it all out for us. I'll make sure to put all of these links in the description here. Anybody that may be like searching on YouTube, like should I get out of the military or how to get out of the military or what is my transition, things like that. This hopefully will pop up. They can get all the information straight from you. It's fantastic. To our audience, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube so you're the first to know whenever we release new episodes. And you can email me, Sean, at shaun@veteransbreakfastclub.org. Ryan, I'm sure there's maybe not a way to interact with you, specifically, but is there somebody that you can point people to that may be watching this video?
Just the majority of, like what I said before, is make sure
Okay.
that you find where that program is, where they're located on your installation,
Mm-hmm.
and go talk to the people that are running that program, because that's where you're going to get all the information you need.
And Ryan, if I may say here at the end, one, thank you for your service, and two, you have an uncanny resemblance to Tom Holland. So hopefully he plays you in a story of your life here in the future. In fact, when you first popped on, I was like, I'm gonna have an hour with Tom Holland. This is pretty
Uh,
cool.
yeah, that's the first time I heard Tom Holland. Usually I get John Cena or
Johnson,
something along those
John
lines.
Cena's the haircut.
Yeah, that's the new haircut, right? That's maybe.
Well, I wish you nothing but luck in your transition out. I hope to have you on another episode of the Scuttlebutt, maybe in like a year or two. Catch up with you about how that transition has worked. What your thoughts on it as you went through it. It'd be awesome to hear that sort of update. I think our audience would be interested to hear, like, okay, well, you went through it all. What's the next step?
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. This has been a lot of fun. I hope a lot of your listeners have gotten some good information and some good pep talk. Just make sure everyone listening, you guys just keep going and make sure if you're looking uphill at something that it's only a hill and you'll get by in no time. Just keep going.
That's a great note to end on. Ryan, thank you so much again. We'll see you all on another episode of the Scuttlebutt. Thank you for watching this episode of The Scuttlebutt. I'd like to take a moment to thank both of our sponsors, the first being D&D Metal Recycling and Auto Salvage. They began as a small hauling and used auto parts operation in the Pittsburgh area in the late 1970s, but they've grown into a full-service metal recycling company with 2 locations, Lawrenceville and Tarentum. D&D accepts all types of metal, both ferrous and non-ferrous, that may be generated by industrial manufacturing, construction, and demolition, small commercial entities, as well as individual customers. They have a wide variety of material handling equipment and are capable of managing any type of job in a timely and efficient manner. You can contact them for quotes and availability at D&D. That's D&D autosalvage.com. Thank you so much to D&D. They've been a sponsor for quite some time, and we really appreciate their support. The second being tobacco-free Adagio Health. They are dedicated to reducing and preventing tobacco use and to getting the word out about the hazards of smoking and secondhand smoke. They're all about health. So they want people to quit, and they have classes and nicotine replacement therapy and a popular quit line, which is the easiest number to remember ever, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. They also educate people, children especially, about tobacco use from cigarettes, cigars, pipes, chew, snuff, and other nicotine products like vaping. Finally, tobacco-free Adagio Health advocates for public and private policies that ensure healthy places to live, work, and play. You can learn all of what tobacco-free Adagio Health offers at tobaccofree.adagiohealth.org, or you can watch our recent episode with tobacco-free Adagio Health on the Scuttlebutt, where they talk about a lot of the programs that they offer for those who are looking to quit. Thank you to both of our sponsors for their continued support of the Scuttlebutt podcast. We really appreciate it. Thanks.